Okay, so this is 2.2, continued, or part 2. Okay, so on 1 it says let f of x equal this and g of x equal that, and we're dividing them. So I need to find out what the function is, graph it, and find its domain. So I have f of x over g of x, which is equal to, so this is f of x, so that's going to go on the top. And this is g of x, so that's going to go on the bottom. Okay. Now I'm going to factor, and this is x squared, so I know to put an x there. And then 6, that's kind of tricky, so 6 can either be 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. Since this is 1, I'm thinking it's 2 and 3. And since this is positive, the larger number is going to be positive. Okay. And then here, factor again. Since this is x squared, it's going to be x and x. And 2 is prime, so I know it's just going to be 2 and 1. And then it's a matter of where to put my negative and positive. So since this is negative, that negative is going to go in front of the larger number. Okay, let me get a different color. So this and this are going to cancel. And I end up with this. So let me go ahead and graph that for you. Oh, goodness. We're going to keep that. And we'll go here. We'll go there. And we are graphing y is equal to x plus 3 over x plus 1. Okay, and you can see that there's a space here that it doesn't touch. Okay, it's probably, let's see, if this is 0 and that's 2, this is -1. It doesn't cross -1 because that would make our denominator 0. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so, however, fun fact, we're going to have to look at this for our domain, okay? So if we set that equal to 0, and we set each part of it equal to 0, so this is x equals 2, and this is x equals -1. So then we know our domain, and if we look back at our graph, we'll see it goes from -infinity to -1, okay, and from -1 to 2, because of this, and from 2 to infinity. Okay, so let's see if we can see that going back. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, we're going to keep on. Okay, so -infinity is over here. It goes from -infinity, and it goes to 1. Or, I'm sorry, to -1, right? And then it goes there. This doesn't really show that, the 2, but the reason that we have to include it is because we canceled it out, which means it's still actually part of your original issue. I know, it doesn't make a whole awful lot of sense, but trust me. Okay, let's go to the next part. Here's our activity. We did not do 2. We didn't do 2. Okay, let me erase this and then we'll do 2. Okay, I can't erase it off camera because why in the world is this difficult? Okay, still won't let me erase it. So, interesting. We will just, let's see, maybe. Nope. Great. So we're just going to have to, like, make a little space for 2, I guess. Lovely. Okay. 2 says f of x is equal to square root of x minus 8, and then g of x is equal to that, f times g of x. So we have f of x times g of x, which is equal to the square root of this, because that's that times x cubed minus 4. Hold on a minute. Much better, sorry. So we were on 2. We're doing f of x times g of x, which you don't have to write like that. You can write differently. Okay. So that's this times this. Okay. And then we're going to graph it. We're going to leave it like this, and we're going to graph it and see what happens. So let's go to, oh goodness. Let's go back here, and we have the square root of x minus 8 times x cubed minus 4. Oh, mercy. Okay, so what we find, oh, where'd it go? Oh, no. Lost it. Where did my graph go? There it is, right there. Okay, so that's 10. Okay, do you see how that's 8, 0? That's where our hole is. That's, so we know that it goes from, yeah, 8 to, okay. Let me go back. Okay. So we know that the domain of f of x, which is this, is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. It can't be negative infinity because that would be negative. All of that would be negative. So it's going to have to be 8 to positive infinity. And then the domain, oh goodness, domain of g of x is, that's what I just wrote. It doesn't much matter. The domain of g of x is going to be, I think I had them flipped. Yeah, this can be anything. It doesn't matter. But this is more constrictive, so that's going to end up being the domain of f times g of x. So that's the domain. Love how you get to hear my thinking it out real time. And then to find the range, I plug in 8. So remember that my f times g of x is square root of x minus 8 times x cubed minus 4, right? So when I plug in 8 to this, this becomes 0, okay? Yeah, because f of 8 times g of 8 is going to be 0, because this is times the whole thing. So my range is going to be 0, because it can include 0, to, and this is y, what y can be, not what x can be, infinity. Wow, that was difficult. And now we're on to activity. Good grief. Okay. Oh, good. This one is short. Praise the Lord. So this is f of x is this and g of x is that. This is f of x divided by g of x. So f of x divided by g of x. So I'm going to plug this into the top. I'm going to plug this into the bottom. I'm going to factor the top. So I have x squared here, so I know an x goes there. And then we've got 8, so we have 1 and 8, 2 and 4. 2 and 4 gives us 6, so that would work. It's plus and plus because this is plus and plus. Okay, so that's going to cancel and we get x plus 4. The thing is, we've got to come back to this to find our domain. We know that x cannot equal negative 2 because this cannot be 0. So our domain is from negative infinity to negative 2 and from negative 2 to infinity. See, that wasn't so bad. Is this the last one? No. Okay. Okay, so we have f of x is equal to square root of x, and we have g of x is equal to 1 over 2x. Okay, and I get that from here and from here. Okay, and we want to know, it says the function f plus g of x models the battery charged. Use the function, find the function in its domain. Cool, cool, cool. So f of x plus g of x is equal to square root of x plus 1 over 2x. Great, we found the function. Then we need to look at the domain. Let me get another color here. Okay, so domain, for f of x, we know that the domain is 0 to 60, and that includes both. Okay, for g of x, we know the domain is 0.75, which it does not include, to 90. Okay, so the domain for f of x plus g of x is going to be the most restrictive that we can have. So 0.75, sorry, the dog's going crazy now. 0.75 is, Noah's coming home from the gym, to 60, not 90, but to 60.
What the freak? What happened to your hair?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's the domain for this one. Let's see if I can go to the next. Uh-oh, there we go. Okay, so this says, hold on a minute. Okay, so let's do this one. F of x is that. F of x is that. G of x is that. Fine. Okay, so we want f of x plus g of x, 3x cubed, plus that. So we have that. And the domain for f of x, which is equal to 3x cubed, is all real numbers. Okay? Now we have to look at the domain for this, for g of x. So let's see, the domain for g of x. So I know that 11 minus x has to be greater than 0. So I subtract 11, and I get negative x is greater than negative 11. And if I multiply the whole thing by negative 1, I get x, but I flip this to 11. Okay? So the domain is that it can be negative infinity all the way up to and including 11, and this is my domain. Okay, we've got one more. Okay, I have just enough time to kind of explain this. F of x times g of x. So this is f of x, that's g of x. If I multiply those, I get this. My domain is negative infinity to 0. My range is negative infinity to 0 and 0 to infinity.